Today's Fantasy Football Almost Daily is brought to you by Game Blazers. If you haven't tried Game Blazers yet, I've got 100 good reasons why now's the time to give it a whirl. Download the Game Blazers app today and use the code FFAD for a first-time deposit bonus of up to $100. You put in $100, Game Blazers will match it dollar for dollar, and that's not to mention the free starter pack to help you build up your inventory. So if you're ready to set lineups in free contests for your share of a guaranteed $750,000 in prizes this season, and they gave away $37,000 in prizes in week 1 in free-to-play games. Geez, you got to go build your ultimate fantasy team with Game Blazers. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Fanball too. We build contests for real players, not algorithms. Say goodbye to mass entry grinders and embrace the sweat with a shot at the payout, because daily fantasy sports is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be a losing battle. Fanball.com is all set with a full slate of week 2 contests, including the Peacock, who pays out $1,000 to the top player. Check out the lobby right now at fanball.com. Let's talk waiver wire in a second, but first, some Less Than Jake.
From the Sports Hub Games Network, this is Fantasy Football Almost Daily with your host, Matt Harrison.
Welcome to Fantasy Football Almost Daily. With me today, my friend and cohort from Fantasy Football Weekly, Scott Fish. How are you?
What's going on, man? I'm good. I'm good.
How did week 1 go for all of your fantasy squads?
Mixed results. I think when you have as many teams as guys like us tend to, that's you're going to get some good, some bad.
I think I was about 50-50.
Yeah, about 50-50. Yeah. I'm in 2 guillotines. One is kind of an interesting setup. The other is I was the top scoring team in. So
okay.
I'm alive in both of those. And
in guillotine, you like to wait a month or 2 before you even start making acquires.
6 weeks. Yep, absolutely. But I'm in one special guillotine where we have decided we are going to spin a wheel to see if 0, 1, or 2 people get eliminated each week.
Oh no. A spinny wheel guillotine. I kind of like that.
I'm not in the bottom 2, so I feel fine.
Wow. So every week you guys just spin the wheel and you don't know if it's 0, 1, or 2. You don't know ahead of time.
Yep. And we have immunity, and we're going to have the ability for someone to come back and the ability for eliminated teams to change the scoring or roster setups on us.
Why am I not in this league?
Do you want to be in this league? We have an open team.
Yeah, give it to me. Send me up after the podcast.
we were gonna have the week that team got eliminated. Instead of eliminating that team, we were gonna bring someone back from the dead to take it over. But I could just as easily give it to you. Charge is in it.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to play in that one.
Oh, Brian. Oh no, Brian's not in it. No,
Brian,
he is.
Okay. All right. Today we're going to go through the most valuable free agency pickups in your fantasy league and how much fab to bid on them. But before we do that, let's review some of the relevant NFL news items from around the league.
News team, assemble!
I don't like the way that clip just cuts off. Maybe I got to fix that one.
It's
should
fine.
just go longer, Yeah. All right. A couple of noteworthy items that came out in the last 24 hours or so. One that will make Charch super unhappy. Tank Bigsby has been traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a couple of late round picks. This comes off the heels of a really solid day from Travis Etienne.
Yep.
Scott, is Bigsby just toast from a fantasy perspective, or is he the preferred handcuff to Saquon Barkley now?
Well, Will Shipley looked fine in his 3 carries. He actually looked pretty decent. He's got the rib injury. Rumors swirling around the Tank Bigsby trade that they actually in part why they were trading for him was his previous return skill history. And given that this weekend over 75% of kickoffs were returned as opposed to 38% last year, I think it was a savvy move for Howie there in Philadelphia to go get a potential explosive kick returner. I do think he's going to get running back work as well. He's capable there. We've seen him be capable there, but I'd be a little cautious. I don't know how much work he's going to get, and we don't know what the extent of Will Shipley's injury yet for those ribs.
Yeah, for me, it feels like the opportunity is just kind of dried up unless there's a Saquon injury, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's Saquon takes most of the work, almost all of it.
That's unfortunate. A guy who won't get any work in the next few weeks is George Kittle, who's been placed on IR with a hamstring injury. That means he'll miss at least the next 4 games. Any actionable items on this one, Scott? Their backup tight end I saw was trending, but he's like 0% rostered, and I can't even remember his name.
Tonjes, and I think he partly is trending because he caught the game-winning touchdown.
Okay.
Like he caught the game winner with like a minute left in that game. It was his first game he caught 3 passes, one being that game-winning touchdown, and it's the first game he's ever caught a pass in. So I think he was trending more by narrative than by fantasy outlook. I think more work just goes to Juszczyk, McCaffrey, Pearsall, et cetera, and where Jawan Jennings is kicking the rust off. So I don't think I'd jump in on Tonjes just yet.
All right. Topic number 3 for me, and the last one in NFL news. JJ McCarthy had an amazing fourth quarter. Oh, there's the McCarthy jersey right there. In the Monday night game against the Bears, 101 passing yards, 2 passing scores, 25 rushing yards, and a rushing TD. And if you extrapolate those numbers to a full game, he's going to pass for 400 yards and 8 touchdowns in every game and run for 100 yards and 4 touchdowns in every contest. Yep. If you take that out to a full season, he's on pace for 6,800 passing yards, 136 passing touchdowns, 1,700 rushing yards, and 68 rushing touchdowns. So is JJ McCarthy the best NFL player of all time, or should I pump the brakes on JJ McCarthy?
I don't think you should pump the brakes. I'm going to check to see if I can get some unders on some of those numbers. See what I can bet on them. But he did look good in that fourth quarter, and I do like that he threw a pick 6 and he immediately bounced back. He was that was the
turning point of the game.
Yeah,
it should have been the turning point the other way. It was crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, he just focused in like a Zen master.
Yes,
at that point
he did.
All right, let's talk about some of our favorite waiver wire guys to add to our lineups. And I made a new little musical thing here, Scott. Let's see if you like this. Do you want to boogie with any of these players?
Nice.
Let's start. There wasn't really much at the quarterback position because no starting quarterbacks are going to change going into week 2. It doesn't seem like. I guess Aaron Rodgers is probably the guy who was on the fewest rosters that people might go get since he had 4 touchdown passes in his first game as a Steeler. He's only 20% rostered on Sleeper right now. So I think people might react to that and pick him up. That's fine.
That is fine. There are other guys that I would be a little more interested in, namely probably guys like Justin Fields, who he played against, and I trust in that rushing a little bit more.
Fields is getting drafted pretty highly, though. He's like in the 14-15 range for quarterbacks. So hard to kind of find Fields. Speculative ad maybe on Jackson Dart because Russell Wilson looked so terrible.
Yeah, I guess. Do you feel Daniel Jones is a guy a lot of people are picking up too?
I mean, they should. He spent those 2 months with Kevin O'Connell, and it changed his life.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm probably not jumping to week 1 conclusions on a lot of quarterbacks. Justin Fields, 59% rostered.
And week 1 is definitely a spot where if you make the right conclusion in week 1, it can really turn around your fantasy season. So let's talk about a couple running backs here. We got 3 of them. I got Dylan Sampson as the first one, 52% rostered right now.
Yeah.
He had 12 carries for 29 yards on the ground. I mean, the 12 carries led the team, not great output on the ground, but more importantly, 8 targets, 8 catches, 64 yards through the air, which averages out to 8 yards per catch. So Dylan Sampson suddenly definitely interesting in PPR leagues. Even if Quinshon Judkins returns this week, it feels like that might eat into Jerome Ford, and Sampson might have carved out a little bit of a role. What do you think?
Yep. I think that exactly, that Sampson probably carved out a pass catching role. I don't know that he continues with like both Ford and Sampson had a tough time running against the Bengals.
Against
Sampson,
Bengals defense. What?
I know it's weird. I would note though that Jerome Ford played 41 snaps. Sampson played 33, but Sampson got targeted or carries on 20 of his 33, So
that's how
basically his usage when he was in was quite a bit, but Ford did outplay him. So I'm worried that it'll, knowing Kevin Stefanski, it wouldn't even shock me if it's a 3-headed monster when Judkins comes back.
What percentage of your fab would you put down on Sampson if you want to talk to Sampson? This week.
So I always hate these. What percentage would you do? What amount would you lay down? I'm never
it's week 1, so it's pure.
I'm never great at these, but that's exactly where I was going. This is week 1, so it's a little bit easier. If you're in need of running back help, he's probably one of the few out there that seems like he's got a built-in, probably staying power role for the season. But I can't imagine going much higher than 20%. I think that's on the absolute high end. If you're kind of have an issue, I think that there's, we've seen this year after year in the NFL that at some point during the season, there's probably going to be an injury that a starter is going to pop up and you're going to want that guy. But if you're in need, I can see going 15 to 20%, but that's on the really high end.
Yeah, I think I
would prefer 10 to 15.
That's a little higher than I'd go. I was going to say 10% to maybe 12% at the high end for me.
I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah.
I would not be shocked though if Dylan Sampson gets a decent amount of pass catching throughout the year though, because I don't see that from Judkins or Ford.
All right. Next guy on the list. You're the pronunciation king of Fantasy Football Weekly, so I always defer to you. How do you say Tootin's first name?
Bashal Tootin. I say Bashal. It might be Bishal Tootin. I honestly don't know. I haven't really dug in on that. But
all right,
Bishal Tootin.
The only reason I really bring him up, he's 39% rostered right now. He was kind of a preseason favorite of a lot of guys. He only had 3 carries for 11 yards, but they did trade Tank Bigsby, which fully opens up a secondary role in that Jaguars offense. And there's been a lot of people who've thought that Travis Etienne was not very good in the past. And it's possible he's back to good, or it's possible that this was an anomaly. And all of a sudden, Bashal Tootin is off to the races. And it feels like you can get him for like $1 this week.
Yeah. That, by the way, I just looked it up and that is correct. It is Bashal.
Oh, nice.
Bashal Tootin.
It's like, isn't that spatial? But it's spatial.
Yeah. Like Bay as in rhymes with day. Bashal Tootin.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the camp that Travis Etienne was hurt a lot and on the injury report a lot last year. And I don't think he was ever fully healthy. And the year before, when he was healthy, he was RB3. I'm in the camp that he's actually legit a good running back.
Yeah,
and last year, what was that?
That's probably right.
And last year was the anomaly. And last year he was just hurt. And he was just trying to play hurt. Now, could he get hurt again? Obviously. But I think that they were so happy with the output and how they looked. I rewatched every single game, and I thought Tootin looked good. I thought Tootin looked good on his handful of carries. I think he had 3 or 4 carries, but I thought he looked just fine in them. He had one big one and then a couple just into the line, but like he's bouncing, he's trying to make moves. Just the line didn't hold for him. He did look better than Bigsby. So I think he's the clear backup to ETN. And if ETN gets hurt, he could be something big. He was one of my preseason. You should probably, draft him at the end of your draft just in cases anyway.
Yeah. So $1, $2 if you want to make sure you secure Bashal Tootin this week.
Yeah.
Trey Benson's the other running back we got to talk about. He's 54% rostered, so that's a little bit more. 8 for 69 yards on the ground, including a big long run there for the Cardinals. Only a catch on one target for 6 yards through the air. But it was much more of a split than we imagined with James Conner this week, and Trey Benson actually led the running back yardage in this game.
Yeah, yes, but you do have to remember he was outside of the 52-yarder. He ran the ball 7 times for 17 yards. But you can't take away the one big play, right? You got it. That's part of the deal on it. When I watched, I didn't think he looked that impressive outside of that one run. But yes, it's Connor is so used to getting 80-90% of the work in that offense that is concerning if you're a Connor owner, but it's nice if you want to go pick up Benson and hope that he continues to carve a role. Connor was still the pass catching back though. I know Benson got one, but Connor was still the pass catching back in that one.
How much would you put down on Benson?
I mean, if you're only and you're right, I was way too high on Samson. 10 is probably 10% might even be, 10 is fine, but it's probably a similar level to Tootin. I think I'm probably going to like the Cardinals offense a little bit more than the Jags, but they're going to be pretty close.
So we're looking at just a couple bucks here, like $3, $4, $5.
Yeah, probably a couple bucks. If you're the Connor owner, maybe it matters more to you. But
yeah, that could be true.
Yeah.
In PPR, he's especially really, really reliant on having those big games on the ground too.
Yeah. I will say like half of Benson's carries, like 4 of those 8 came on like one drive where Connor was out. Okay. So I also don't know how much they're truly splitting.
All right. Interesting note there, Scotty Fish. Let's move on to the wide receiver position. Quentin Johnston is probably the most prized possession on the waiver wire this week. He's only 9% rostered on Sleeper. 7 targets, 5 receptions, 79 yards, and most importantly, 2 touchdowns in that Friday night game that was nationally televised against the Chiefs from Brazil. Yep. Quentin Johnston, are you breaking the bank for him? Do you believe former first round pick, or was this just?
I'm not breaking the bank, but I do believe. I was kind of wondering, like this offseason, like why he was so low on people's draft boards, and part of me went with the same mindset that I'm like, I get it, because they got Ladd now. They brought in Keenan Allen, who was good 2 years ago, and he's he'll be fine in this offense. I was a little worried. I was a little worried about Quentin Johnston, but it's clear he has these games. He's had these games last year too. I think you're going to see some dud games from him too. It was interesting to watch that Allen and McConkey basically one worked the slot and one worked outside, and they kept flipping. So they each played like half slot, half outside. But Quentin got that side all to himself all game. He's got a secure role in that offense. But I wouldn't break the bank, but I do believe somewhat in that offense and in Quentin Johnston.
So I think he's kind of the prized possession. I'd be willing to go up to like 15-16% for Quentin Johnston this week.
Okay. Interesting. If he continues if this offense keeps going, if Air Bear keeps going, yeah, I can see him having a lot of good games. That's what he did back at TCU. Like he was the big contested catch guy. So as an end zone target, they don't really have a tight end. Well, they have Conklin, but end zone target, yeah, he can score.
All right. Worth noting that Keenan Allen is 60% rostered, and he too had a great game. He's probably worth a couple of bucks in your league if he's available out there. Moving on to Hollywood Brown, who also played in that Friday night game for the Chiefs. He's 31% rostered, 16 targets, 10 receptions, 99 yards, and Xavier Worthy's status is week to week with a shoulder injury. Of course, we know Rashee Rice isn't going to be back for another 5 weeks. Hollywood Brown, maybe the top target getter for a while in a Patrick Mahomes-led offense.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect Worthy back and really within the next couple weeks. I know it's week to week, but I would expect a few weeks out there. So he's a good plug-in. Juju Smith-Schuster is probably still going to get some work too, but Hollywood Brown's probably going to be a pretty decent plug-in until Worthy's back, and even then probably until really Rashee Rice is back.
And when he's got volume in his career, he's been an awesome receiver. Yeah. It's just been so many injuries the last couple of years that have sidelined him and just knocked him out of playing time, basically. All right, Hollywood Brown, what would you put on him?
Well, if you're wide receiver needy, you want to get some early season wins. I probably don't think it's Quentin Johnston level, because I do think that there's a cap to this where his volume is going to start to really go down.
Correct.
So it's probably in the $3-4 range, $1 to $4. Probably.
Okay. So 1 to 4% probably on Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
All right. A Charch favorite that he's been talking about because he loves the booty. It's Kayshon Boutte, or is it Boutte?
Boutte. It's Boutte. It is Boutte.
He's Patriots wide receiver. He plays along the outside. He's 4% rostered, and he had 8 targets, 6 catches, and 103 yards last week. He was on the field a lot of the time, and Drake May's arrow trending up a little bit in fantasy overall, but maybe not in that game, but still Boutte had a fantastic game.
Yeah, he was on the field 83% of the time. And he's always playing on that outside. He did out-snap Diggs, who played like just under half the snap, and Douglas played a little over half the snaps. But yeah, Boutte was the one that was out there all the time. Boutte and Hunter Henry. So I wouldn't be surprised if he turns into the wide receiver to own in New England at some point.
Here's my sneaky thing on this. Everybody's spent so long not taking any New England wide receivers that this guy's just going to fly under the radar. And I think even after a good week, I think you're going to be able to spend $2 or $3 on him. And he's probably going to give you some pretty decent production the entire year.
And you do also have the other thing coming, that Hunter Henry, who last year had basically 20-25% target share, he had a good game. Diggs is still there. And people out there really like Pop Douglas. They're going to think it's crowded and it's New England, and they're not going to spend on Boutte. I think that's a fair call, that he's still going to be under the radar.
I think it's a savvy move for some good fantasy owners to pick up the Boutte. Calvin Austin of the Steelers, he's 7% rostered. He had 6 targets, converted 4 of them for 70 yards, and he did get a touchdown. And we all believe Aaron Rodgers is going to throw 4 touchdown passes in every game. So Calvin Austin, any interest there? I mean, it seems quite clearly the second receiver in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he is. He played 80% of the snaps, only outpaced by Metcalf. And what was interesting about their setup is they didn't do a lot of 3 receiver sets. They did a lot of 12, a lot of 2 tight ends, Jonnu and Freiermuth, and they had Austin and Metcalf out there. And they interchanged their backs a little bit. You would see other wide receivers come in, Roman Wilson, Ben Skowronek, who scored the touchdown. But Calvin Austin was out there, and their main set seems to be a 2 receiver set. So he's the guy that's out there in an Aaron Rodgers-led Pittsburgh offense. So I think it's legit, is what I should say. His week one, his success in week one feels legit to what the Steelers are going to do this season.
My problem is it feels like in an Arthur Smith offense, I don't know how much wide receivers are going to get consistent production, even with Aaron Rodgers. And when I was watching that game, Rodgers still looked a little bit skittish in the pocket. And he ended up having some good numbers and a great game, but it still looked like he's a 42-year-old dude that does not want to get hit. And I just think that it's going to be high percentage, low volume throws down the field. And Calvin Austin might be looking at 4 catches every game, but it might be 30 yards and no scores, or it might be 70 yards and a score.
Absolutely. I think his percentage of the workload, because he's out there in 2 receiver sets, is going to be fine. But the actual fantasy production, you're right, might absolutely be that. And the Steelers aren't going to score 34 every game, which allows for a ton of fantasy production. And another thing about Arthur Smith that I mentioned in the preseason, he's never had a wide receiver have over 110 targets. Like he spreads it around, like you said, and it kind of mutes everybody a little bit, the way he spreads it around.
All right. Calvin Austin, just a couple bucks.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, that's more of a $1, or is it like it?
Yeah. If you miss out on Calvin Austin, you're not going to be super sad.
Yeah.
Will you be super sad if you miss out on Cedric Tillman, though, who's 34% rostered? He had 8 targets, 5 catches, 52 yards, and a score.
Yeah, he had a huge stretch last year with some really bad wide receivers. Or was that 2 years ago?
I think it was last year.
Bad quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And Joe Flacco is just such an incredible upgrade. And Tillman's big. He's fast. He's a great outside receiver to pair with Judy. I think that one is actually legit. I also think the slot receiver there, who's technically a tight end, wearing number 44, is probably the guy.
A little bit later too.
He's probably the guy I want most, not only in free agency, but potentially in this offense, because it's a clear role for that guy. Mm-hmm. But I do think that it's what we saw from Tillman, we're going to see several times this year.
Okay, but he's another $2 kind of guy.
I like him more than Calvin Austin. Because I think there's more long-term potential, and Joe Flacco passes a lot. I probably like him a little bit more than Hollywood Brown.
Wow.
Even though I think Hollywood Brown has more immediate possibilities.
Immediate upside, but probably not the longevity.
Yeah. And I'd probably take Booty over Tillman, but they're really close.
Okay. I got one more for you, and I didn't prep you for this one, so this is just kind of a sneaky guy. Elick Iomanor.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Oh, nice. I'm getting good at this. He's 25% rostered, and the box score looks like trash.
Yeah. Did you watch the game?
No, I did not watch the Broncos Titans. Sorry. But 7 targets in that one, only 2 catches for 13 yards. If you focus on the 2 catches for 13 yards, you're not picking them up. If you focus on those 7 targets.
Focus on the 7 targets and focus on one. Ward threw it to him probably 15 yards downfield, but it was just out of bounds, he caught it. He caught it, but it was just out of bounds. And then 2 more were contested catches. One of them was like 30 yards downfield that the defender just broke up. So if those passes hit him, just in bounds, or he makes those contested catches just a little better, we're looking at a 5 catch for 75-yard day. I mean, he was just inches away from a much, much bigger day, but the 7 targets is really what stands out. And also I believe he played, I think like 83% of the snaps or something like that. I could look it up real quick.
This is one of those sneaky moves that if you're in a league, especially with casual players, they're not going to be looking at Iomanor. So you can pick him up. Even if you have a $0 bid in your league, you can pick him up. And I really like his prospects the rest of the season.
I'd throw 1 or 2. I like him more. I'd throw a couple on him. I'd probably throw 2 on him because I really, really like him. I will 79%, by the way. But one thing I also should note about that game is that Calvin Ridley was shadowed by Pat Surtain. So there's a little element of maybe he got a little bit more, like a few more looks because Ridley was so shadowed.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's possible that might be the case all year, is that teams just opt to try to take away Ridley.
Absolutely. absolutely a possibility.
All right, let's move on to the tight end position, and we got 3 to talk about. I'll save your favorite for last, though, Scott. Juwan Johnson of the New Orleans Saints is currently the top tight end in fantasy football.
Yeah.
He had 11 targets, 8 catches, and 76 yards last week, and kind of a low-scoring week for tight ends. But Juwan Johnson of the Saints, it was a guy that Charch was loving up on all year. Somebody's got to catch balls in that Saints offense, and why not Juwan Johnson?
Honestly, this is a funny one because I know Brian Johnson and I have both been on Juwan Johnson in different times, and now it's Charch's turn. I feel like you're going to be on him next year.
Yeah, we'll get there. I'm always real late to the party.
The reason I got in on him, I think, for last year because Mike Triplett, a beat reporter for the Saints, really well-known beat reporter for the Saints, was like, Juwan Johnson is the guy they really want to get going. They love him in camp, but he's injured every year. And finally, we get a year where he's not injured, and Moreau and Taysom Hill are both on IR. So he's the only tight end out there, right?
Love the only game in town aspect of it, too. So Juwan Johnson, a couple bucks, especially if you're a George Kittle owner, maybe.
Yeah, I will say there's a little worry here that – and I know we got the new Kellen Moore offense, but Alvin Kamara was only targeted 2 times in that game, and I do not see that holding up. And I wonder if that pulls from Juwan Johnson short,
It could, or maybe Kellen Moore just doesn't target running backs. You never know.
I mean, it feels like a misuse of Alvin Kamara to not target him, but
yeah, probably. All right. Noah Fant is a tight end. He plays for the Bengals now. We keep trying to make a tight end happen for the Bengals, and maybe it's actually Fant. Only 2% rostered, had 5 targets, 4 receptions, 26 yards, but he did have a big touchdown in that game.
Yeah.
And considering Joe Burrow, I believe Joe Burrow threw from inside the red zone more than any quarterback in the league last year. So
it could be true. It surprises me Rodgers wasn't up there, but Rodgers
I like Fant as like a really, really low dollar option if you're kind of streaming tight ends.
Yes, he's the one of these 3 tight ends I'm a little more concerned about. I love that he's on the Bengals and that it's a right. There's a lot of options there, but he was out. He was outsnapped by Drew Sample. He had about just slightly more snaps than Mike Gesicki. He's basically in a 3-way split, but he was the pass catcher of those 3. So you want the pass catcher. If you're going to take one of those 3, it's just he played 30% of the snaps, or 50% of the snaps.
Are you going to put in tight end pancake blocks for Scott Fishbowl scoring next year?
Absolutely. In fact, that's all it is. No rushing yards, no touchdowns. It's only pancake blocks. That's all you get points for.
Our good old friend John Tuvey would love that league.
Pancake block only league.
We're only doing offensive linemen and tight ends.
Yeah. All
right.
Breakfast league.
The final tight end that we got to talk about, your favorite, Harold Fannin, number 44 of the Browns. Yeah. 9 targets. He was targeted 9 times. I don't have that button on here. I got a sad trombone, but I don't have 9 times. He got 7 receptions and 63 yards, and he's only 6% rostered. But the fact that they've so quickly moved on from David Njoku is concerning.
I don't know how quickly they moved on from Njoku because Njoku still played 84% of the snaps.
Okay.
He was out there. It was a lot of 2 tight end stuff. But really it was Harold Fannin basically played slot receiver for the Browns. And he not only did he catch a lot of balls, something he did a couple times is he really bailed out Flacco by seeing where Flacco was going and rolling to that side so Flacco could, quickly hit him in the flat. And that were a couple of his catches. And I think that's going to keep you on the field when you gain your coach and your quarterback's trust when, the play breaks up. But mostly, I mean, he played 72% of the snaps, not much less than Njoku. They were both out there. And it seems like he's their slot receiver. Like he's a big tight end, but he's 6'4", 250-pound tight end, but he's basically their big slot receiver in that offense.
So he's the Kyle Pitts of Cleveland.
I suppose. I mean,
and Kyle Pitts had a good day too.
Yeah, he did. But nine targets, and just watching, it felt like he was saving Flacco a handful of times, and I really like that.
All right. How many bucks you throwing in on Harold Fannin?
So he's the one I actually probably want. And I know that we started out and I had Dylan Sampson way too high, but I think out of all of these, I think Harold Fannin Jr. is the most likely to be safe. I think he's the most likely to. He's not going to get you 9 targets and 7 catches every week, but I think he's going to, because he's a tight end. But I like him the most. I would probably put in the 5 to 10 range, and I need to pull back on what I originally thought on Dylan Sampson a lot, because I realized that was just way too high
throughout the course of the show.
Yeah, over the course of this is the kind of thing where you're like, oh, I really think this is a great one to get, and then you pull back and you're like, there are a lot of good options. Fannin's probably the one I want most, just because tight ends are tough, man. Tight ends are tough, and they're tough to running backs you can find. Tight ends are tough during the year, and if you can get in early, then you're going to be set.
It's like you're putting all of your waiver wire claims in right now, and then you're like, oh wait, I don't want him as much as it's,
that's actually kind of what it's like, because I don't like doing the numbers thing very much on shows. So yeah, that's exactly what it's like. We're going through these and I'm like, okay, I realize I like this guy more.
Well, maybe we'll switch it up to Scott Fish's rankings of waiver wire priority next week.
We can do whatever. I'll roll with whatever. I always have data and info and narratives and stuff to talk about with each player.
All right. Thanks, Scott, for joining. Programming note, Fantasy Football Almost Daily will be back tomorrow with a show primarily about Game Blazers. And I do want to mention that product, which combines so many elements of DFS with trading card collecting. There's free games for cash prizes. That's the long and short of it. That's what you get every week of the NFL season with Game Blazers. Guaranteed season-long prize pool of $750,000, which is more than double last year's guaranteed total. Download the app, use promo code FFAD for a first-time deposit bonus of $100. Build your ultimate team with Game Blazers. Sorry, I've been about to cough for like way too long. Hold on. All right, there we go. The joys of doing a podcast for like 40 minutes and really having that tickle in your throat.
Don't worry. Everyone listening heard you say you had to cough, and then they heard my laugh, and then we went back into it. So they think your cough sounds like my laugh.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, thank you for joining the show. This was Fantasy Football Almost Daily. We'll see you tomorrow, maybe.